Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivimey.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam 2, if you're keeping track of the numbers of which ones these are.
It should be Shazam 2.
We've talked about titles.
Here's what's additionally frustrating about Shazam having a subtitle. I'm never a fan of the subtitle genre.
I know you are not.
The title of the film series Shazam is Shazam! It has an exclamation point at the end, which immediately undercuts its ability to have a colon subtitle.
We don't like when there's two...
These are two sentences.
These are two sentences.
This isn't a subtitle. The title of this movie is Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
The Fury really gets undercut.
It undersells the Fury.
This is a real Panic at the Disco kind of title.
Yeah.
There's a panic at the disco.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe they took inspiration.
Sure.
Oddly enough, Panic at the Disco, not on the very good soundtrack of this movie.
Pink still's got that exclamation point in there instead of the I. I think she's still doing that exclamation point.
Does, but all right.
I don't know how to pronounce that properly.
I mean, I've been struggling with the band Five Ive my entire life.
Of course.
We all have.
We all, as the eternal struggle.
Do you say the 5 as a 5 or do you pronounce it like an F?
So you mean the eternal struggle?
The eternal struggle of Five Ive.
Of course.
Absolutely great point about the punctuation in the sentence of the title not working. I will say I'm okay with it, though, because there is only going to be 2 Shazams.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like there's Shazam, and then there's Shazam, any other title at the end. Obviously not the first Shazam.
I understand.
And I say that for many reasons. I say that for WB reasons of obviously they're not going to keep going with this franchise. I say it for the reason that these kids are going to be too old right now to do a third Shazam.
Yeah.
So there's only going to be the 2.
May I posit this?
Sir.
As what the title of this film should have been.
Oh, what do you believe? Shazam's...
and this does not hit a spoiler yet. Yes.
I was joking.
They do the aliens system but now there's more Shazam.
There is more Shazam.
So I think Shazams should have been the title to this.
It's just weird to say.
Well, they put an exclamation point in the title. This is on them. But we're talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. It is the new movie that just came out this past week. So since it's a new film, anytime that we talk about a new TV show or movie, we are going to give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about seeing it, maybe you're on your way to the theater and you want a taste of this episode, whatever your reasons might be, we will give you a spoiler-free review. Then once you hear the theme music, that is going to be when we get into our spoiler-filled section. So spoiler warning after you hear the theme song. But before we give you the spoiler-free review, I do want to mention to you, our wonderful listeners, our friends, our family, our peoples.
Our folks, our fam.
Folks, our fam.
Our pod fam.
Our pod fam. I have my second stand-up comedy album available right now.
Right now, guys.
It came out last week. I'm incredibly proud of it. The reviews have been very positive and kind and make me bashful and blush. So other people seem to really like it. I hope that you will as well. And I hope you give it a listen. My new album is called Murder Bird. You can find it wherever you're listening to this right now, wherever you listen to your music. Search for Murder Bird or search for Andrew Ivimey. It's available everywhere right now. It's an hour of stand-up comedy. It's my second album, and I couldn't be more proud of it, and I couldn't be more grateful and thankful for all of you who've already listened to it as well.
It is a fantastic album. You all have to listen to it. If you like Andrew, you're here, so you probably do. You're going to love his album. It's full of incredible jokes. If you want to taste, Andrew's socials also just have like a bunch of previews.
I got lots of clips on my socials. And you know what? Maybe you're not here for me. Maybe you tolerate me, but you're here for Diana.
I liked it.
You liked it, and you can hear Diana's laughter in the background of the album recording.
If you need a little hit of Diana.
That can be a fun game for you if you tolerate me and are here for the Diana.
But if you're here for the Diana, I'm here for Andrew. So by association,
transitive property.
Transitive property, you're here for Andrew.
But please check out my comedy album. It is called Murder Bird. It is available on all platforms right now. If you want a quick link tree that gives you links to multiple different platforms, you can check out murderbird.andrewivimey.com. murderbird.andrewivimey.com. That will give you multiple links to multiple different platforms, or you can just search for Murder Bird or my name on. You giggle every time I say it.
You're hearing it right. The name of the album is Murder Bird.
Bird.
And it's just funny every time. I've heard it dozens, if not hundreds of times now, and I laugh every single time.
That's the name of the album. Search Murder Bird.
Search it
up. So check that out. Now, let's talk about Shazam. Let's do a spoiler-free review. We'll start with the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
Oh, I really liked it. I thought it was so fun. I don't think it's quite as good as one, but one is a love. Like, one is a absolutely underrated, fantastic superhero film. So this is like pretty close to a love. It doesn't have the incredible heart of one, but it still has quite a bit of heart, like enough that I'm like, yeah, there's heart here. The story makes sense. It absolutely tracks. The relationships are really good. The comedy is stellar. Love the comedy. Fun villains. I like what's going on. Oddly dark every now and then, which I don't know if that's a positive, but as an adult, I was like, yay, that's fun for me. But if I had brought my kids, I might have been like, what? So maybe just a warning for people who are going to bring their kids that it gets incredibly dark every now and then. But I thought that was fun for me. Some incredible performances. Oh my God, the kid who plays young Freddy is so good. And a couple fun action things. The action is never bad, but I'm not sure there were any sequences that I was like, whoa, that choreography or those ideas were so good. So I'm going to give it a really high like. Just a lot of fun, a romp, no real glaring flaws, a couple things to goof on, of course, as always, but I'm really sad this movie's going to make no money because it was quite good to me. Andrew, did you like Shazam too?
I'm very similar to you. I'm not quite as high a like as you, but I'm a relatively high like. I think that this movie was like really high like, borderline love, but this movie is 40 minutes too long.
It did start to drag.
It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It really could be a tight 90-minute kind of, which doesn't exist anymore, but a fun 90-minute action movie. And to the point where there was a moment in this movie where I thought we were going in for the close. I'm sitting in the movie theater and I'm like, this movie has slapped. What a fun ride. This movie is like a 9.5 out of 10. I've had a blast. I'm about to have a great time with this, what will certainly be the last scene of the movie. And I looked at my watch and I went, oh my God, there's an hour left? And it wasn't because it felt like the beginning of the movie dragged. It felt like the beginning of the movie was the right amount of time. It told all of the story that it needed to tell. And it did everything it needed to do. And then it was like, I don't know, let's fill some time. And the whole third act and the final fight scenes just drag and go on and have nothing to do or say. So if it had have ended 40 minutes earlier, this might frankly be a love for me. And it's not just that it's too long. It is that everything at the tail end of it is the stuff that is boring and doesn't work. And the first 90 minutes is a fun, playful joke factory. So I was borderline love until the final 40-ish minutes of this movie that just kind of meander and kill time. But even then, I like it. I almost really like it. Like, it's a pretty high like for me. My only two complaints, 40 minutes too long, and it has one of probably the most egregious product placements in recent history.
We'll talk about that.
I
almost don't want to give them any more product placement and talk about it.
I know. They don't get money from us, though, so that's the nice thing.
We don't get money from them.
That's true.
They should pay us.
Yeah, but we get to poo-poo them and how they do it, so that's a different thing. But I'm going to say that, like, one of the easily top 10 most egregious product placements of the past decade. So the bad product placement and too long. Those are my two big complaints. but I think it's funny. I think it's charming. I think the ensemble works. I think there's a lot that I really laughed out loud and had a terrific time with while watching this.
I will agree with literally all of those points. Yeah, the first hour and a half is so tightly paced and the comedy is landing and you're like, oh, we have to do this and we have to do this, and you know why everything's going on and it's motivated and there's stakes because of what's happened. You're like, oh, this is great. I'm actually genuinely involved. And then the last like 40 minutes, yeah, it's dragging. They do not know what to do with the supporting characters once the big event happens. And they're like, oh shit, what do we do with them? Product placement, I guess. And that's not a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any product placement in your movie, it needs to be in the first act.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I still don't like it, but it can't be load-bearing of the third act.
And this is a movie that also has other product placement that is actually quite acceptable. That is a perfectly normal and healthy amount of product placement. Unobtrusive, normal, I get it. You need a bit of funding. You got to get paid. Art doesn't make itself for free. And... yeah, I get it, but yeah, it gets egregious.
It gets
as it
egregious,
goes on.
but still quite good.
Yeah.
It could be edited down to be a great film, which is like kind of sad in its own way. When you're like, oh, I see greatness, I see wonderfulness, but it's still quite good. I
Certainly.
enjoyed it.
And can this be spoiled?
Yes, it can. There were some big surprises, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say there were a couple of surprises here. A few directions that I actually didn't expect even the general story to go. A few other kind of more canonistic things as well that were a bit of a surprise. So a few pleasant surprises along the way. Yeah.
And then some weird surprises.
And some weird surprises, and then also just like a few good like laugh surprises also.
Oh man, there were some good laughs in this movie. I gotta say, some of the hardest laughs in a superhero movie in a long time.
So I do agree it can be spoiled. I think it is a little bit better if you go in fresh, if
Yes.
you intend to watch it.
Go completely fresh. Just listen to this and take our word for it. And when it gets to the third act, be ready to be like, the first two acts were so good.
Oh, big drop off here, huh?
Yeah. Big cliff.
All right. Big cliff. Well, I think that's going to be it for the spoiler-free review. Now we are going to get into the spoiler-filled section. So spoiler warning ahead. We are about to talk more about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. All right, we have seen it. We're in the spoiler-filled section here now, and we seem to be pretty much on the same page.
I love the pages we're on. We're both on the same page. We're reading at the same pace. We're turning at the same time.
As we often are.
We often are. Every now and then we're a little out of step. I mean, within this universe, we were on quite different pages about Black Adam, if I recall.
Ooh, yes, that is
And
true.
that is
true.
the closest to this you're going to get.
That is
So,
true. Yeah. And I think you might be giving this movie like 10% more love maybe than I'm giving it. If I was trying to quantify a number onto
That's
it.
absolutely fine. But that's still going to be around the same stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
right off the bat, I think the thing that I just need to talk about, like this kid's blown me away in everything I've ever seen. Jack Dylan Grazer as young Freddy is so goddamn good.
Really good.
I am absolutely awestruck by this kid every time. Like, he is so good that he fucked over Adam Brody's screen time. Like, let's be real about this. Like, when you're looking at this movie and you're like, wow, young Freddy lost his powers for a really long time, and it's absolutely because they were like, this kid's a star.
The kid is a star. Brody also does a very good job. They do
That's
a
the
really good
thing.
job of syncing.
That's the thing. Brody's also really good, so it's kind of a shame that his kid actor is just, like, phenomenal and, like, so, I don't know, just attention grabbing and just wonderful. Because I also wouldn't mind if Adam Brody was just in the movie more as like Super Freddy. But it's just, he absolutely blows me away. His comedy, his like just like feeling of like danger, but his feeling of strength at the same time, his bonds with Billy. I think he's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Adam Brody, who plays the super version of Freddy, is at a disadvantage because when it comes to a character like Billy / Shazam, I'm going to say that like in many ways they are co-leads. And though I don't know or I haven't seen any interviews about the creative process behind this movie, I think probably those two actors and the director had a sit down and a conversation about what that character will be like, what the embodiment will be, and how they're all going to sync up. Whereas Freddy is Freddy in the first one, and Adam Brody is great casting and has to match what the child playing Freddy. So at no point can Adam Brody be like, I actually found a way to kind of steal the scene of my own by making this my own. It's not his character to take. So I like that he's not stealing the scene. I like that it is, I'm matching the stage charisma and presence of what this young actor is bringing to the role, which I agree is a phenomenal scene-stealing, star-shining moment for the actor who plays young Freddy. Just a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that's a great point about Adam Brody. Yeah, because like from day one, the two Shazams knew they were both Billy.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to work on this character together. But Adam Brody was like, for 5 minutes, he was Freddy in the first movie. And also, like, Freddy's in the entire first movie as young Freddy.
And all the writing and
characters.
Personification and characterization of it comes from how it was written as a kid in that first movie.
So, yeah, that's a great point. But, yeah, I think Freddy has more screen time than Billy.
Well, I was actually going to say that probably Freddie and Mary, Grace Caroline Curry, who plays the older sister, Mary, they're almost the leads of this movie, and I would say have more screen time.
Oh, I didn't really feel like Mary had all that much screen time.
It
really felt like Freddie was first, and then Shazam was...
I don't think Mary had the arc necessarily in terms of like the page time on the writing, but also she's the only actor who plays the same person.
I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah, she doesn't get changed.
Yeah, she doesn't get changed.
Okay, by that arc, I can understand what you're saying. But she is mostly in like a lot of group scenes where all of the Shazams are together.
True.
But yeah, just like to be so good that they're like, we got to take your powers away so that you're going to be a kid for most of this movie. It's like what a compliment.
And also just and I say kid, I haven't looked up his age. He's probably like a teen or 20 by this point. But normally, you know, when they're dealing with kid actors, they want to have them on screen as little as possible.
They Shazam them up.
Just due to labor restrictions and how difficult it is to film with underage actors, and understandably difficult to film with underage actors because they still need to have a youth and a life and have so many other commitments. And I also think that Grace Caroline Curry, who plays Mary, also does a fantastic job. I think everyone from like the kid and the adult version, Mary is the only one who plays the same in both. But all of the other kid and adult versions also do a phenomenal job. I think everyone syncs up really well.
Oh yeah, everyone syncs up great. You can tell that they all like worked really hard to like figure out who all the characters were and like how they're gonna like transfer the traits from young to old. And that's a great point about like, yeah, of course she would want them to be as adults as much as possible, just for filming wise. But if they're already like over 16 and they can keep them 8 hours a day if they want, then maybe it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of says why the two youngest of the family are the ones that are in their adult form the longest. And a lot of credit to Megan Good, who plays Darla, the superhero version of Darla.
She does such a good job of being a child as an adult.
Really big, really bombastic, really out there, really that matches it up, and also needs to, because she has more screen time than her younger persona, needs to embody youth even more than some of the other ones as well. Yeah.
So another, just a slightly more thing on Freddy though, just because like you said, yes, he must be old enough to have like tons of acting hours, because they also beat the shit out of this kid in this movie. I was a little upsetting at times, right?
Yeah.
Like the three gods, who are gods, have taken his powers away, and then they like choke him, they throw him into walls, they threw him into a pit.
Yeah.
They do not care that he is just a regular human who needs a crutch to walk around. Like they are cruel to this child.
Yeah. I mean, they are... there's something oddly normal about it, that they're like, these are gods who view all humans as ants.
So they don't care if you're 16 or if you're 25.
If you're
that's the same.
If you're a high school kid on crutches or if you're like a beefy bodybuilder, they're like, these are just different ants. I do not visually see or understand. I'm 6,000 years old, and you are all slightly different ants that we can't tell apart, quite frankly.
The logic tracking you're throwing at me is absolutely accurate. But I will say, there were young children in the audience.
Oh, this movie is weirdly violent.
The bullies! The bullies, babe. The 80s bullies were back again.
I kind of appreciate the commitment of the first movie and this one to be like, bullies exist in the 80s. This movie exists today, but bullies exist in the 80s where you're allowed to murder a kid if they are a nerd or if they are differently abled. You are allowed to do physical, life-threatening violence in front of adults.
And no one will do anything. So the bullies, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, the bullies straight up just punch Freddy super hard in his stomach in the middle of the hallway in front of everyone, in front of the girl who's got a crush on, then bend his crutch so he can't use it.
Yeah.
And they're about to throw him in the garbage can. And a teacher comes by and is like, hey, and they stop and walk away. They don't get detention. They don't get straight to jail. They don't get suspended. And then Freddy thanks the teacher.
And it's like, I got you, man. And be like, teacher, you need to do way more.
So much more than this.
Or principal, I can't remember what his position was, but either way, you need to do more. You witnessed 2 kids commit a full-on assault, destruction of property, and I think a hate crime.
I don't know if that counts as a hate crime, but
it's a protected group, which I believe makes it a hate crime.
It seems close, and they're both so big. And they learned no lessons from movie 1. And it was the teacher doesn't know Freddy has superpowers, but also when Freddy's a human, he's just a human.
And it is insane, and I respect the movie's dedication to it.
Here's what I don't respect.
Lay it on me.
This is what this movie did that this movie didn't do it, the first movie did do. There is no comeuppance to the bullies. In the first movie, they wrecked their car. They threw the truck from the sky and destroyed it. So they ruined their truck. Literally, the bullies get to walk away with no justice.
No justice,
no vengeance,
no
no
repercussions.
Punishment. Even though Freddy has superpowers and can later go do stuff to them if he wants to. I guess he's a very good man.
Yeah.
who decides not to get vengeance upon them.
I think that shows character growth of our leads. And to be like, it's not about getting comeuppance. You're a hero now. You don't go around getting comeuppance.
I mean, they're going to bully someone else.
All right,
You
fair.
still got to get these guys off the street.
You do. They are committing daily assaults.
They're
that is true.
looking to do it publicly in front of everyone.
In front of teachers.
The kid that they know knows Shazam and Superman, I'll say.
Yes.
Established he knows Superman in the first one.
Sure.
So this was just wild. I wonder.
I love to talk about their comeuppance from the first movie. Mm-hmm. In the first movie, before they know about Shazam as an entity, before the city of Philadelphia knows about Shazam as an entity, really, it was just that guy saved a bus and was kind of on a cell phone footage once or whatever. The bullies are like, we're going to pick on Freddy. Oh no, our car fell from heaven.
Those weren't connected.
Then later, Freddy knows Superman and Shazam. And at no point do either of these dudes think, oh, that's why our car fell from heaven.
Because of his association with the flying super strong men. The
Yeah.
2 men that can fly and are super strong in the world he knows.
I have learned that I will be retaliated against for hating on this child. Never occurs to them at no point.
No lessons. No lessons. Now let me throw this out as an idea. Because
Yes.
the teacher did nothing but still got thanked, was apparently a good guy. Do you think the teacher maybe was supposed to seem like less of a good guy? So when he walked off the building, it was less traumatic?
Woof. Oh my God.
This was the darkest thing in the movie.
I would say the movie started off pretty dark because it starts off with this museum scene where Helen Mirren.
Those people never came back to life, did they?
No, Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are going into a museum to get the magical scepter, staff, whatever you want to call it.
Staff of the Gods?
Staff of the Gods. They're going into a museum to get the Staff of the Gods back, which is on display. First of all, they violently attack and murder a bunch of people. No blood, a lot of neck snaps, a lot of picking up people like professional wrestlers, yeeting them at a wall, and then you see that stunt person's neck touch their own back, and then you hear a crack, and everyone goes limp always.
Or so much concrete has been broken that you're like dead. Dead.
And then also a neck snap bending.
Also a neck snap bending.
Which I guess, since there's no blood, it makes it past, like, rating association stuff, which is always weird and dumb. Then they turn everyone to stone, of which they push a very nice man, the tour guide, over, who turns to dust. And these people are never rescued.
No, in my head I was like, oh, definitely when we beat these guys, they'll turn back into human. But they were just dead in dust.
Everyone at the museum that day.
Everyone at the museum. I mean, also Philadelphia's fucked.
Philadelphia's fucking ruined.
There were so many monsters.
Yes.
Like, this is Metropolis all over again.
For sure.
So, like, this movie had heavy casualties, but I think the teacher walking off the building was the darkest one.
Played by D. Bradley Baker, who is the voice of Batman on Brave and the Bold, The Batman, and I think like a few other animated versions of Batman.
One of the friends on the Drew Carey Show.
Absolutely. The roommate from Office Space. A
wonderful actor.
A wonderful actor who's had a terrific,
man.
Varied career. Seems like a very kind human being. Plays this teacher principal, I can't remember what it was, very charming and playful. I don't think plays it in a way, to go back to what you were saying a moment ago, of I didn't do anything about those bullies, so don't feel bad about me when I walk off of a roof to my death because I've been mind controlled.
I'm saying he should have played it. Should have played it as like a teacher who sucks.
I think if that's the case, that's bad casting.
It's bad casting.
Because he's a fun, nice man.
Yeah, he's the Paul Rudd of voice acting.
Yes.
Like, you'd never want Paul Rudd to walk off a roof.
Even when he played, like, in Office Space, when he plays, like, a bit of a dirtbag, it's kind of the, like, a likable dirtbag. So he's just a likable person.
Yeah, so that was probably the most shocking scene because Freddy's like yelling. He's been mind controlled. Freddy's yelling that like, don't do it. So you're like, okay, Freddy's going to have to like give up some information or he's going to haul him back or Shazam's going to show up and he just walked off the roof.
Whoa.
It was dark as hell.
Dark as hell.
Freddy and then just watched his teacher die.
He watches it and you hear the wet thud. And like the sound effects, I think, are actually what really sell the horrible violence of this movie. The horrifying. I don't want to say horrible because it's what they're going for. I'm okay with it. It's a little bit off-putting, maybe not the right tone, but
the implied violence is worse.
And then Helen Mirren's character says, "Wow, they really do just pop like grapes, huh?" And referring to the body of D. Bradley Baker as having popped like a grape, I also found pretty upsetting.
Yeah, because they don't show his dead body. So you're just picturing like blood everywhere in an absolutely decimated human form.
Yes.
And it's so much more upsetting than the museum people who were like, they're dead and they're dust, but they're not eviscerated.
They didn't pop like grapes.
They didn't pop like grapes.
What a line.
What a line.
And that's from Helen Mirren, a character who we'll get into later, redeems herself when she popped the grape of a human being husk for fun.
A human nice man, not even like an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and enjoyed / was fascinated by it.
Was into it.
Yeah, very troubling. I do, to kind of circle back to the family a little bit and like the kids and the adults. One thing that I did feel like was a slight misstep on this one, as much as I think the ensemble cast does phenomenal, I buy into the heart of the family. These foster parents are terrific and they sell the shit out of it. I love these foster parents. I do feel like Shazam and Billy were a little bit out of sync in this movie. And
do you mean like the young and the old actor?
The young and the old actor.
Okay.
Yeah, where it just feels like Zachary Levi who has his problems. We're not a big fan of him at the moment, but he is playing it exactly like he did in the first movie, which is still like a very like insecure, younger, I'm looking for a home Billy. And I feel like the actor who plays the younger Billy, Asher Angel, is playing it in a way that's like a little bit more kind of
he felt a little older and more mature.
Yeah, a little bit late teen, angsty of like, I have a home, but I'm kind of growing up. Am I moving on? And then when it cut to Shazam was still like, what are we doing, guys? Are we still having... And it felt like it was last movie Shazam, but it was a new version of Billy. They felt a little out of sync there.
I get what you're saying. And I will say Billy had so little screen time compared to Shazam that it's hard to say for sure. But I think I think the disconnect for me is that Billy, in the screen time he does get, is literally never silly. And Shazam is 95% silly.
Billy is quite somber and quite like, I really need you to show up to this meeting. Like pleading, I'm sincere.
Yeah, and Zachary Levi, even in most dramatic scenes, is doing like, well, guys, we're going to fight a dragon and we might die. And he's way up here the whole time. And maybe like 5% of the time, he's actually being serious.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, it's like fake serious. And I'm going to be like, family's here and we're going to attack Helen Mirren. And it's not actually serious. So I think there is a disconnect there of just like Zachary Levi was a little too jokey too much. And young Billy could have cracked like one joke.
And the jokes work on paper, and I think that a lot of the comedy does land, but it is a little like too much of the same from Zachary Levi as Shazam.
I think that is also why the movie feels really long in the third act, because you're like, oh, he's just doing the same stuff still.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you need contrast. Comedy works in contrast. Films work in contrast. We've talked about it before of like audio mixing, but it's like the principle that applies to writing and everything, where if everything is loud, nothing is loud. You need to have contrast for anything to work.
Yeah, so like being that funny, does make the actual serious moments more serious, but the serious moments were so far in between.
And I think that the actor playing the younger version of Billy, I think Asher does the right instinct, the right performance instinct to be like, this is 2 years later. I'm about to turn 18. I'm about to finish high school, and I'm about to legally not be like mandatorily part of this foster home. I'm a bit angstier. I'm a little bit grungier. I'm a little bit more solemn, even though like I'm still the same guy, but I have that teenage weight of the world on me. And I think that the instincts of Asher to play it like that are absolutely correct.
I think he also had the right instincts, especially for the scenes he got. Like his last scene, I think, is like when he like unshazams and like tells his mom he loves him, his foster mom. And I'm like, of course you had to play this perfectly somber. Like, and you did great choices here. This was a really nice, beautiful scene.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, but Zachary Levi doesn't feel quite the same.
No, and even in that moment, like the young Billy is crying, and it feels like a very true performance. It feels like I'm crying, I'm hugging my mom, I called her mom for the first time, I'm hugging my foster mom and I've called her mom for the first time, and it's this beautiful moment and I'm crying, but now I need to go be a hero. Shazam! And he turns into, Zachary Levi in a bodysuit, this embodiment of a heroic person. But Zachary Levi has no ability to convey any of the emotion of the scene that just occurred, where like it really should be a little bit red-eyed, like I'm still feeling this, and now I've turned into this kind of little bit of a fake facade for a thing I need to go do. But it was still just like, it's me. I'm Shazam now. Let's go.
Yeah,
like, no,
it did.
Literally a fraction of a second ago, you were crying.
Yeah, it threw off the emotional resonance.
Yeah, it super did. Well, let's take a quick break in the podcast because we need to thank our wonderful sponsor of today's episode. Our friends, you know them, you love them. It's our friends over at tpublic.com.
Oh, our friends at tpublic.com. Do you know what they've got?
What do they have?
They have designs by independent artists who are getting a fair commission for their work, and it's designs you're not going to find anywhere else, and you're going to get them on a t-shirt or a tank top or a hoodie or a long sleeve shirt or a baseball tee or a phone case or any other cool thing you want to get a design on. You're going to fall in love with it, and you're going to be like, I'm not supporting the man. I'm supporting like a small person.
A small
An ant-man, perhaps.
An ant-man is who you are supporting. You are supporting an individual.
Independent artist.
An independent artist is who you're supporting. And you're also directly supporting this show whenever you go shopping through our store link as well. And yeah, it's not just t-shirts. Yes, they do have phenomenal t-shirts, but so many other types of clothing and accoutrement, as you mentioned. Summer is coming, which is a thing I have been yelling since daylight savings time.
Come back!
Summer, come! You're here.
We're in Canada. We need sunlight.
I'm promising myself summer is coming, so I am in the shopping for a tank top mood, and I love and I have a lot of the tank tops they have at tpublic.com. They've got great designs. One of the designs that I'm loving this week, as part of the Renaissance.
We're all feeling it.
We're all feeling it. We're all talking about him. He's back in the news. I like the Mummy more like the Daddy. And it's just a picture of Brendan Fraser from The Mummy, which is just a tasteful delight of a photo.
It is a fun to look at in all forms.
Yum, yum.
Just looking at Brendan Fraser in The Mummy.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
It's
yum.
a triple yum.
My shirt is Shazam, all the letters all spaced out. And it's just a really fun drawing of Shazam. And then the lightning bolt on his chest is gone to like a tiny Billy who's Shazamming. So you get both Billies at the same time. And there's so much lightning, and it really, really pops. It's a fun shirt.
It's a very...
If you need Brendan Fraser, if you need Shazam, they got it all.
That Shazam shirt feels like a powerful shirt.
It
I would
does.
feel powerful wearing that one.
It looks really strong,
You
right?
feel stronger.
Yeah,
you feel stronger.
You feel like you have Shazammed.
You feel like you've Shazammed.
I am the one who has Shazammed.
And if you want to see either of the designs we just mentioned or any of the ones that we've previously brought up on the podcast, you can find those at our storefront, which is over at tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And when you shop through that storefront, the independent artist who designed the shirt gets paid commission, and you also directly support this podcast as well. And even when you go to that store link, shop around all of TeePublic, and you will still support this podcast. So go to teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And thank you, TeePublic, for your support.
Thank you so much, TeePublic.
And now back to Shazam.
I am torn between going into a positive or a negative. What shall I do?
Let's go a little positive.
Let's go a little positive?
Let's go a little positive.
I'm going to go just very specifically positive. This is never funny to talk about, but I have to bring up just the letter to Helen Mirren might have been the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Really well delivered.
Really well delivered, and also just from a writing standpoint of like, we have to write this letter in a way that is very silly when Helen Mirren says it, not when Billy's acting it out or when Zachary Levi's acting it out. Like, you have to be able to hear the voices of all these characters as she's reading. Darla, should we proofread it? I think Steve does all the spacing. It's fine.
No, Steve doesn't make mistakes. He's a pro or whatever.
He's a pro. Just send it.
Just send it is so... And Helen Mirren does a great job of just stone face.
Stone face. She says the words Gatorade, stone face. She just says every in-between line of like, give us our brother back. Make sure you say unharmed. Make sure you say unharmed. Yeah, we want to say unharmed or they'll just kill him and give him back later. So we want him back unharmed. And she's just delivering it so straight. And it's so good. And I don't know how tiny the writing was, but it was such a long letter for one piece of paper. Like, it kept going so much longer than I expected it. It was such a good joke.
Very, very good joke.
It was such a good joke.
And even the comedy of, like, Steve really worked as, like, a comedic inanimate object, which we've seen in other things. You know, it's Doctor Strange's cape, it's this or that. But it does work here, in my opinion. It's not fresh, but it works.
Steve being able to very clearly communicate, like, because he can write, really made a difference, I think, to me about Steve's hilarity.
Yeah. And even, like, just, like, little moments like Shazam just being like, crumple that up.
Wad that
up. And then just as, like, you give up on a draft of a letter, that was really terrific.
It was really terrific. I don't know if they drew enough attention to it, but it was also funny just because, like, that's really special paper they're using.
Yeah.
And I think there was a limited amount of it.
I was wondering if they were going to play into that as well.
If they were going to run out of paper, and that's why they had to send the letter they sent. Because they were like, this is the last piece of paper that can magically be sent to a god.
Yeah.
So everything with Steve in the letter was so funny. I just applaud a huge laugh like that is so rare.
Yes. And even like the beginning, the pediatrician as a therapist, just kind of going through the like, did you experience any childhood traumas? And him going through the plot of his life in the first movie and just being like, and just the pediatrician being like, that's a considerable amount.
And having to be like, I'm still in my childhood. I'm currently being traumatized.
Yeah, and I'm disrespected by my siblings, but I just be like, and your city. I didn't say I was disrespected by the city. Holding up a newspaper that says Shazam or whatever it was, with Shazam disrespected my city. Like, that is great comedy.
That's solid. Prop comedy? I'll take it every day of the week.
It's, again, nothing revolutionary, just a solid shot across the bow, but it works. It just works.
It just works. Yeah, there's some good comedy in this movie.
Yeah,
The wizard getting Freddy's name wrong more extremely every time he says it.
Freedy?
Frebby? Jeff?
Fuck.
Jumping from Freebie to Jeff.
Oh my God. Also, just like huge respect and shout out to Jimon Hansu returning as well.
Hansu, we love you. You always understand the assignment.
Always understands the assignment and the ability to scale up the comedy as well, to play this a little bit different. Just like a sneaky man in DC movies, Marvel movies, independent movies. Yeah, he's in Guardians, he's in Kingsman, he's here. But a phenomenal job of being the straight man comedic partner, of being like, oh, just shut up. Like, why are you still talking, Freddy? He does it. Always gets the assignment.
Always. Absolutely. So the comedy in this movie is really, really good.
I even like the comedy of, and this is the dream sequence with air quote Wonder Woman, where it's a body double of Wonder Woman and it has the head of Jimon Hansu, and it is just a great, hilarious pairing, which I felt like as the scene started, I was like, this is uncomfortable. Then they play with that uncomfort. Then it's a little funny, and it's that perfect level of overstayed its welcome comedy. This is actually one of the few moments in the movie where I'm like, this scene played out too long, and that was the right choice. Where like it was a little funny, then it was weird, then I kind of forgot it was happening, then it became fucking hilarious again.
It became funny because I couldn't stop looking at it, and they gave us such a long time of the wizard in Wonder Woman's body that I just started watching, and I'm like, I wonder if Jimon has like the full wig on, or if it's just his face. Like, I was trying to work out which parts were him and which parts were the body double, and I was having fun with it. And I'm like, he's still just here as Wonder Woman, huh? We're just gonna stay in this moment.
And they did a great job of whoever Gal Gadot's body double is, of looking like Gal Gadot, but also changing their embodiment as well, because it was everything that was being said by the wizard, by the head of Hansu. Everything that's being said by that is being kind of acted out and embodied by the body. So it didn't feel like it was just a body double stand. It wasn't a mannequin. It
was a person doing a performance.
It was a person who understood physical comedy, selling the idea of what if the conversation coming out of this body didn't match this body. And that really works, and it really added a lot, and I thought it was incredibly funny.
I thought it was really funny. A great runner, also the house being struck by lightning over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful runner.
Very nice.
Absolutely good runner.
Yeah, terrific comedy.
Now, the negative.
Yeah.
Skittles.
For those of you who didn't see, there is a Skittles product placement.
There's multiple,
but it is just top 10 most awkward, forced, painful product placements that I've seen in a movie. Definitely this decade, maybe ever.
They really wanted a Reese's Pieces E.T. feel to this.
Yes, they did.
And they did not get it.
No. It was
not organic. It was absolutely terrible. There's so many Skittles in this movie. And there's so many shots of them, and they're plot reliant, so they need to capture unicorns for some fucking reason. It was super dumb. And unicorns like ambrosia, and Skittles are the closest thing to ambrosia. And then they said taste the rainbow twice. Which is one too many times. It's twice
too many times.
But if you're going to do it, you do it the second time where they were going to say fuck at the end.
Sure.
Because that's at least funny. Taste the Rainbow motherfuckers is funny.
I'm actually going to argue it's not. I found it very forced and just like, ugh.
It's better than Twice.
Yeah, all right. It's
all
definitely
bad.
better than Twice.
It's all bad. I didn't want it there.
It is all bad. And they're going for unicorns from like Cabin in the Woods unicorns, where like unicorns are horrifying, terrible murder monsters. So they don't even have like rainbows or colors.
No,
so
but they still wanted Skittles?
It doesn't work. And also it's 3 scenes where like nothing other than the Skittles product placement happens. Literally nothing. It is maybe 10 minutes of screen time of just Skittles product placement.
And there's so much Skittles every other place, too. Like, the movie opens and Mary's like, did you put Skittles in my pockets? And Darla's like, yeah, I wanted to cheer you up with Skittles. And then Darla brings Skittles to Helen Mirren when she's trapped in the cage. There's Skittles everywhere in this movie.
And one of them would have been fine.
Oh, absolutely. One is fine.
The pocket joke of like, did you leave Skittles in my pockets? I did it as a treat. Skittles product placement. It ruined the clothes. Funny product placement enough, acceptable. But it just gets out of hand. Even the Gatorade product placement in this movie. So Mary, the older sister who's old enough to drink and go out and wants to go to university and have a life, is hungover. And it's just like, are you hungover? And we're playing with the comedy of like kids, some of them too young to understand a hangover, some of them old enough to understand it but not have experienced it. And then just her wearing sunglasses and quietly raising a Gatorade up in the background. I'm like, that's actually pretty funny, and it's product placement. You did what you had to do. It ended up in the letter. A second product, kind of funny. We're diminishing returns.
And this is a product placement that's actually like quite interesting because it's Gatorade admitting that you use it for a thing that they don't say you use it for.
There's no TV ads for that Gatorade is for hangovers.
TV ads are Gatorade is for sports and it's for rehydration. They can never be like, drink it when you're hungover.
You fucked up last night.
Even
Gatorade.
Though we all do drink Gatorade when we're hungover. So like, I get why you need that product placement. So yeah, I wasn't mad at Gatorade. The Skittles was so much. And here's what's so personally absolutely upsetting about all the Skittles ads in this movie. I was eating a bag of Skittles as we watched this movie.
Ooh, I forgot that it hit home.
I had one of the big boys, too. Not a little boy. I had a family-size bag.
Mm-hmm. So they got to you.
They didn't get to me. I stopped eating them when the ads started.
You came in with pre-purchased Skittles, and it ruined your taste for Skittles.
I love Skittles, guys. Genuinely, this is actually a thing everyone who knows me knows about me. They give me bags of Skittles for presents. I think Skittles are great. They're not paying me to say this. I'm mad at Skittles right now because I was in the movie, and I'm like, Skittles, yum, 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 yum. And then they're like, guys, you should eat Skittles. I'm like, fuck you. I'm not going to eat Skittles anymore.
Yep.
So, good work, movie.
Miserable.
And I also don't really like unicorns.
I'm also going to say the other thing that makes it miserable from a marketing and a film standpoint is the fact that they say taste the rainbow twice.
Yeah.
Because that is miserable for 2 reasons. Because the only scenario in which the kid says that in the movie is referencing and recreating Skittles commercials. To say, I like Skittles, I think this thing might like Skittles, would you enjoy Skittles, is a thing a child might do and is a product. But for a child to say a tagline of a series of commercials twice, and also, a shitty tagline. Everyone knows Taste the Rainbow is Skittles' tagline. Not once has anyone in the real human world ever naturally said taste the rainbow. Like so many other commercial taglines or runners, people have said, like a Snickers, you're not yourself when you're hungry. Maybe someone's done that as like your friend's getting hangry, you're poking fun at them. Maybe a Skittles or a Snickers is around. That like Taste the Rainbow, no human being has ever said Taste the Rainbow.
No.
Outside of actors working in a Skittles commercial.
The only time that this would have been acceptable was if you killed a bad guy with a bag of Skittles. If you shoved him down his throat.
And he choked on it, maybe. Choked and died.
Then you can taste the rainbow, maybe.
Maybe.
But like, if I had to go with a rainbow reference, if I like live in my life, and this is a girl who loves Skittles, I'm living my life, I'm like, I need a rainbow reference. I would be like Magically Delicious. I would go right to Lucky Charms.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know why. It's better somehow.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah. So just wretched product placement.
Because even as a bit, I've heard someone say magically delicious. Maybe as a joke, maybe in reference to Lucky Charms. No one says taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow.
Ever.
Not even during like Pride Month.
And it's the absolute, yeah.
Not even then.
It's the absolute worst form of self-referential, real-life referential humor, which this movie has in spades. And I know that type of comedy is it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. A lot of people very much dislike this type of thing. Like when Shazam references the Fast and Furious movies, and he's like, I've watched all the Fast and Furious, and I know it's all about family. And that's the cue for everyone to come in. That type of real-world self-referential humor, also the writer of this film, the writer of the Fast and Furious movies. Oh. So that's a self-referential meta joke as well.
I was thinking more Helen Mirren's in the Fast and Furious movies.
Oh, I guess that's also true.
She's probably seen them.
She would know that it's about family. So that type of self-referential stuff is cringe for a lot of people, but self-referential to marketing is just a next tier of absolute beyond the pale. It is gross.
Yeah. It was rough.
Rough. Absolutely rough. 10 minutes of screen time wasted in an already bloated act of the movie as well.
They did not know what to do with those kids once they lost their powers, huh?
No, they didn't know what to do with the movie entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as a whole.
I thought the ending of the movie was so it's like the three sisters, it's Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, and the other sister, Anne. I'm sorry, I forget the actor's name, but it's these three sisters. They're the big bads of the movie. And then it's been Helen Mirren as like the leader of the sisters all movie. And then just at some point, Lucy Liu's like, no, it's me now, kind of. And takes an apple from the world tree and buries it in the earth, which is going to destroy the earth. And then now this big tree is growing monsters, and it's in the middle of the baseball stadium, and monsters are growing out. And she's like, now I'm going to watch the earth be destroyed. And that was the point in the movie where I was like, what a tight movie this has been. This is the last scene.
We're going to show up and have one big fight.
And that is it. And that was when I looked at my watch and I was like, there's a fucking hour left. Oh my God. And I definitely didn't expect 10 minutes of it to be a Skittles commercial, but there was an hour left after that.
Yeah, they really like killed and like just stuff we didn't need, like that led nowhere, like Freddie and Anne fighting the fear of the dragon.
Yeah.
That took like 5 minutes and they'd already like he already trusted her again. Like she'd already sacrificed played her way like back into the fold. Like we didn't need a redemption arc in this moment or them becoming any closer. So it was like 5 to 10 minutes of like them just being like, we're not scared of the dragon. I'm like, I don't care. Why are we still here? Go fight the world tree. What is happening? And we don't get her powers back. Nothing happens there. The kids go find all the unicorns and it like takes a while and they're just talking in the car for a long time. Then Billy's plan takes forever to enact.
And the unicorns and the other monsters around the city have no consequence. They don't do anything other than set up a Skittles commercial.
No, they're terrifying and they kill a lot of people.
Kudos to the visual effects department. A lot of those monsters looked incredible. It's like here's a wyvern, a minotaur, like lots of different creatures.
May I throw out? I don't think this movie really got delayed. It looked great.
It visually did look great.
Nothing looked rushed or not done for a movie that had a lot of effects going on all the time.
And visual effects that existed in broad daylight as well.
Very hard, very difficult.
They really did nail the look of that 30-minute Skittles commercial, but it looked fucking incredible.
It looked really good. And like the dragon looked really good and complete. That scene where everyone turned into stone was incredible. Yeah, so like they feels weird to be like, this movie was not on a time crunch visually, despite being very VFX heavy.
And even though it visually looks good, it just feels like it's biding time. Like there is one scene with it's Freddie and Anne, and they are kind of like clumped up. Anne's lost her powers, and they're in like an underground parkade, and the dragon's coming, being ridden by Lucy Liu. And Lucy Liu's like, kill them. And they're frozen from fear, because that's a thing that this magic dragon does to you. And the dragon, who's been breathing fire, destroying people constantly, is like charging up. And Lucy Liu's like, kill them. And they're having a full conversation. And Lucy Liu's like, kill them.
It doesn't happen.
It goes on for so long that it honestly feels like they're about to do a joke where Lucy Liu is like looking around and being like, this was a trap to lure Shazam? Why isn't he here yet? I could have killed you 8 times by now.
That would have been funny.
Because it took an obscene, it was like steamroller running over Will Ferrell in Austin Powers level of this is taking a comedically long amount of time.
A comedically long amount of time, and in a thing that felt like it was supposed to be setting something up, because they set up twice in this movie that Freddy was very good at resisting mind control, even without his powers, because he gets chaosed in the head and he won't tell them Billy's name, and they're like, wow, for a human he's super strong and he's fighting this, and then he fights the fear dragon. And I'm like, okay, wow, there's going to be a third thing and he's going to have to save the day through the power of his mind. And it doesn't happen.
No.
So they like spent all this time setting up 2 instances of Freddy being like, I can fight mind control basically. And it doesn't matter. He didn't need to. So those scenes were pointless.
Yeah.
The first scene was just interesting, so I'll leave that in. But the one with the dragon didn't have anything.
No, it had nothing to do with anything at all.
This wasn't a movie about overcoming fear.
No. And it really doesn't make sense to me because they need to finish the visual effects on these scenes, which
it's
they did.
It's so cuttable.
And it costs a lot of money to finish the visual effects. It really feels like it's like they did all the visual effects first and then found out that DC was shutting all this down. And they were like, let's save money by not editing anything and let's leave everything in. So, but that's not how movies are made. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to have a movie that's super long with all the VFX done and scenes that could have been cut.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
Weird.
Yeah. Now, I do kind of want to jump to the end.
Okay.
If you want to talk about the end. So, like, we're talking about the third act so far, which has just been kind of, like, bloated, a bit too much. But the ending / post-credits stuff that goes on forever, the Wonder Woman cameo. Let's talk about that.
That feels like of a different time. Like, the Wonder Woman cameo and the Superman Black Adam cameo combined are such a... We were actually going to bring the whole DCEU together, and then Super got shut down. It's such weird vibes of, like, this is... The Flash, I guess, is the last, like, traditional DCEU movie coming out. But, like, this is such, like...
I mean, Aquaman is still coming out.
Aquaman!
There's another Aquaman that's also filmed.
Forgot about that, dude.
Yeah.
About him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to tell you then. Because, it feels like they finally were coalescing it together. But, like... It's such a weird cameo at the same time. She's never met any of these people. No.
She knows the gods. Like, she probably knows the wizard.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like anyone came to Paradise Island until she left.
But
she didn't find out she was a god until she left in World War I.
I mean, it's also a scene that visibly Gal Gadot had not met any of these actors and was never on set with any of them in any given scenario.
I think there was a couple shots where she was in the same shot.
No. I was very much looking for it. There was no twofers. It was only over the shoulder. There was a single shot that was a twofer where it was when she was walking away and there's a focus shift, but it's clearly just 2 planes of different green screen.
Fair enough.
And there was even a couple shots where I'm like, you forgot to put her in that one. Where she was like handed the staff to the wizard. And then, like, it does a wide shot of everyone, and she's just not in it. And I'm like, oh, you didn't even put her in those ones.
So yeah, it's really weird. Just because, like, it's like obviously not going to happen. It's setting up things that will never happen, and also it's weird to be like, is that Gal Gadot's final performance as Wonder Woman?
I think that is true, unless she shows up in the Flash or Aquaman. There's a lot of wind down for a thing that's dead, for a universe that's dead, frankly.
This is taking a while to die, huh?
To the point where, like, at this point, the Superman and Black Adam thing is very much like, it's a little bit like, okay, well, that happened the week it all died. That happened the week that, like, Warner Brothers was like, it's all over, we're bringing in James Gunn, we're doing this. It was like... Okay, so that was pretty soon. The Wonder Woman thing's weird. Now I'm being like, is Aquaman gonna introduce Green Lantern? What other shit is about to happen?
The Wonder Woman, I think, is weirder than Superman, though, because I got the impression that Henry Cavill filmed that very late and they threw it in there. Was the feeling I got from it. But Wonder Woman is plot load-bearing. Billy's still dead if she doesn't show up.
That's the other thing I was thinking about.
It's not a throwaway scene. Like, this is script relevant. This is on the page, or the movie has a dead kid as the lead.
With Warner Brothers, like, pulling the plug on the DCEU, I really feel like this scene should be cut. But I agree with you. Then it leaves the movie ending just with a dead child.
And you can't do that.
And I guess you don't want to do that. So it was load bearing, I guess.
I mean, but at the same time, it felt like a better ending, because if we never get another Shazam movie, all their powers were gone.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, well, there's no magic and all the powers are gone, so you'll never see Shazam again.
No.
But also, that is a dead kid. Yeah, he's also a dead child.
Straight up, we ended by murdering
a
child.
But the movie was pretty fucking dark anyway, so...
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. A weird return of Gal Gadot on a green screen, pretending to talk to a bunch of actors that she's never met.
Yeah. Yeah, just such a weird final... These are going to be the weirdest final appearances of these characters.
Super strange.
Like, if Superman and Wonder Woman are not in The Flash, and this is the last we see of them, it's going to be like, that's weird.
And even I'm flat out also going to say, even having Affleck in The Flash as well, where like it really felt like post Justice League was like, it's all crumbling, it's all over, and then like the clawing it back, like we got Gal back, Ben hates this visibly, and we got him back for The Flash. No, we almost got it together. Collapsed.
And then fucking Zaslav was like, get him out of here.
We need tax credits. Shut it all down.
Who cares how hard you've worked to build this universe?
What a truly insane thing. And then like the two post credits being Mark Strong coming back. Let him go. That you can delete.
That you should have cut. You know you're doing nothing with, like, the end credit is acknowledging you didn't do anything with the last end credit.
Yes.
That's an insane thing to do.
It's a pretty bold move. And frankly, it's just rude to Mark Strong.
It's just rude to Mark Strong. What I would have done if you're bringing back Mark Strong is I would have referenced the end credit of Green Lantern where he turned into Sinestro, which they also never did anything with.
That's funny.
I would double credit that
funny.
He has had 2 end credit scenes of DC movies that they have done nothing with.
I like it.
That's my change.
Why not at that point,
right.
Frankly? Yeah. And then the other post credit was tying in Peacemaker and the Justice Society.
That's not going anywhere. I don't even think they greenlit a Peacemaker season 2, did they?
I don't think so.
And
if they have, I haven't heard. No.
And all the stuff they announced, they didn't say it.
I don't understand. And this is the other thing that truly baffles me about all of this, to be like, they were fighting tooth and nail to keep that old DCEU. And they thought the connective tissue was James Gunn's stuff, which is his James Gunn's Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Peacemaker, and then James Gunn being like, this character is the most important one from Peacemaker. Also, it's my girlfriend. Don't worry about that and don't think too hard about it. But she is the Phil Coulson of this universe who will show up in Black Adam and will show up in Shazam and tie everything together. And also, you're all fired, but I'm in charge. But you were the one already trying to tie it all back together. I really can't understand how it all hinged on James Gunn, and they wiped it clean and gave it to James Gunn.
It's bad. We'll never know. We will never get a 30 for 30 documentary about what happened in the WB exec rooms. We'll never have any answers. All right, WB is a mess. But there's another thing that's a mess that I have to talk about before we go. I need to get my thoughts out about the 6,000-year-old woman dating a child.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that.
How could you forget about that?
Yeah. They both hang a lantern on it and don't want you to think about it too much.
This is like 20 times worse than Twilight. Because I think like Edward and Bella was the one where everyone's like...
No, Twilight is worse.
No, Twilight's not worse. Twililight's not worse because Edward is like 100 and Bella's 60.
Jacob imprinted on a baby.
That's not Edward. That was Jacob.
You gotta take the whole of Twilight if you're trying to throw Twilight.
No, because I'm just talking about age difference with a kid and an adult.
Okay.
So she's 6,000 years old.
I agree.
She's in the body of a child, but not even like a child. She looks like she's
She
20.
has the knowledge and life experience of a 6,000-year-old.
6,000-year-old. And she says that, and the parents are like, and then gives him a kiss on the lips. And the parents are like, this is not cool. And then you're like, okay, we've acknowledged it's not cool. You won't date, right? And then they're holding hands at the table.
I actually don't. The holding hands is what makes it weird, really.
Yes!
Because I am kind of okay with, like, big day, a lot going on. You do not have the mental capacity, literally, to unpack that. As a parent, a 6,000-year-old who looks the same age as your 16-year-old, kissing your 16-year-old, while the world is ending and you've seen unicorns and minotaurs fight today and a dragon's flying overhead and you found out gods are real, be like, okay, in no way am I capable as a parent to deal with this in any way.
It's kind of going to the bottom of the priority list.
I'm going to say, yeah, absolute lowest priority
moment,
of anything happening that day, even that week.
Of course, yes, not mad about that.
The second schools reopen in Philadelphia, you can't have this going on anymore.
No. I'm 35, and
Yeah.
I shouldn't and don't want to kiss a 16-year-old boy.
Sure.
And if you do when you're 6,000, that's a huge problem.
This is something we've discussed several times in this podcast and also off air. It's something that I feel so passionate about and always hate, whether it is as guardians, elves, old world titan demigods. It is something where I'm like, I hate thee, but I'm a teenager compared to gods. Comparative age is not age. You know, like when Thor showing up to Earth and being like, yes, I'm 5,000-year-olds, but I'm basically a teenager, so I behave like a teenager.
My dad's 30,000 years old.
That's not how lived experience works.
No.
You have the lived experience of a 5,000-year-old man. You have the lived experience of a 6,000-year-old woman and know not to kiss a 16-year-old boy. Like like when we talk about like adolescence is just like a term of what percentage of your lifespan and whether or not you've made it through puberty, depending on what species you are. It has nothing to do with emotional maturity. That's worms have adolescence. That doesn't mean it's okay. Like none of it makes any sense.
It's awful. So it's a bad storyline to continue through the end of the movie, especially because I will say they could have it still wouldn't be okay. If she hadn't gotten her powers back, somehow it would be a little bit better.
Huh. Yeah, I could see that.
If she was a regular human 16-year-old now with no powers, still 6,000 years of memory, but Freddy is a 16-year-old who can turn into an adult and still has superpowers, there's like the power imbalance has been unbalanced in that way.
Okay.
But her having her full god powers and being like, I'm dating a 16-year-old, like, no.
It sucks.
You have full god powers.
This sucks.
Stop it.
This bums me out.
You're the villain.
This sucks.
You're still the villain of this movie. I don't care about your redemption arc.
Absolutely. Most of this movie has felt like it was written by the Fast and Furious writer, which it was. And this feels like a James Gunn joke from Peacemaker. Like, this feels weird here.
Yeah. So that's my biggest thing I had to get out, that this was not cool, and saying it's not cool doesn't make it cool.
Yeah, they thought making a joke about it would help. No. And it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
Especially not when you circle back.
You got to kick that god out of your house.
You've got to be like, no, you can't.
You're 6,000 years old. Go get your own place, girl.
Yes.
Get your own apartment.
Absolutely. You don't have powers, but I think your armor was made of gold. Sell
she has
that.
powers. Her powers came back.
Oh, yeah, your powers came back. Why do you live here?
She can shift reality.
Fix our home and then get out.
I thought she was going to fix the house.
No one fixed the home with powers.
I think they did off screen. Like, the house looked really nice.
It was getting back together. Yeah, there was something there. Oh, also, the visual effects of her powers. Again, done before, but looked good as well.
They looked really cool.
Yeah, they looked
really
great.
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of this movie. Done before, but looked really cool. Well, I'm feeling good about Shazam. You feeling good?
I'm feeling great. I got all my praise out and all my Skittles and old ladies who shouldn't date teenagers thoughts out.
God, first 90 minutes of this movie so good though, huh?
I mean, like, you almost want to turn it off.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, for anyone who might watch it later as video on demand or at a home release, Straight up, like once
she plants that tree.
Once she plants that tree, the movie is over, and you've had a great time. Good day.
Yeah, there's not a great moment again after the tree's planted.
No, there's zero great moments.
And there's a lot of great moments before the tree's planted.
Yeah, there's some good visual effects, but that's it. Yeah. Well, let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about this movie if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you might get your podcasts, wherever you might be listening to this right now.
Wherever you get it, you can probably leave a rating. We're willing to bet. We'd also love a review. We love the kind words. It tells people that we're funny and smart and we have good things to say and that we're listenable.
Yes, we're very listenable. So
you can hit play so easy.
Tell people about that. It's a free way to support the show and helps us find new audience, new listeners, new fans, which is always amazing. And if you do want to support the show monetarily and get cool bonuses for it.
They're so cool.
They're so cool. We have a Patreon where you can subscribe at whatever level you can afford, and you'll get different kinds of cool bonuses depending on what you can afford. Even at the $1 level, even at the $1 a month level, you help support this network. Those add up, really make a difference. They keep the lights on, they keep the network running, they pay the server fees. They do a lot of what we need it to do, and that is incredible. And then you get our webcomic a day early, and that's just $1. That's literally one single dollar.
That's just for $1.
Nothing to it. You can go up from there, and we do have different other scalable bonuses. Since you're a fan of this podcast, then you might be interested at the $10 hero level. You get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. Sometimes they get a little bit weirder, a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit wilder. This month we did the movie Plane.
We did Plane. You're going to want to check it out. It is Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter. We talk about how Mike Coulter is too cool to be Canadian.
He's too cool to be Canadian.
Even a lot of other stuff.
His character is from Toronto, ? But is French speaking, and they didn't make it Quebec for some reason.
We had questions.
We had questions, but it is a fun episode and a medium fun movie. So check out our episode on Plane. That's available right now. That was this month's exclusive. But if you sign up at the $10 level, you also get immediate access to the back catalog. So you have access to all of our past Patreon exclusive episodes. And that's all available over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
Just a couple little ones I kind of already said. Anne just loses her powers. She doesn't get them back, so it's less creepy. So she has no, ability to be a weirdo, I guess, is one of my big ones. We're just going to shorten the ending. Obviously, we said Act 3 is it's too long. Honestly, she plants the tree. We fight her right away. We win. I don't know. There's so much filler that we don't need. I don't need the kids with the monsters. I obviously don't need the Skittles. I don't need the dragon and Anne and Freddy. It's all too much. We don't need Helen Mirren slowly dying and coming up with a plan with Shazam. There's no laughs in any of this. There's no emotional resonance in any of this. It's all cuttable. So we just cut that. My biggest change, though, is actually just a thing that I thought they were leading to again and didn't pay off. There's a couple of these that happen. My biggest change is that the wizard is Solomon. This movie kept saying that Billy has no wisdom, even though the wisdom of Solomon is supposed to be a thing that they get with their powers. They said it 4 times that Billy has no wisdom. And the wizard doesn't have a name. And I really wanted the wizard to be the reason you don't have wisdom is because I'm still alive and I just didn't give it to you. And that's why he's not wise. And it's not much of a change, but it bothered me that I thought that's what they were building up to. So I'm going to have the wizard be Solomon, and that's why Billy doesn't have any wisdom. And those are my changes.
That's an interesting take. I like that. That's kind of fun.
For Shazam, too.
That's kind of fun. They did have one moment about that where he was your wisdom is your heart. You don't have intellectual wisdom.
Well, where's Solomon's wisdom?
Yeah, Solomon.
It's in the name.
Solomon didn't have wisdom of heart.
Yeah, what do you, you don't have lightning of Zeus. The lightning's in your heart. You can't say that.
Yes, yeah. And I know we've written it as texts before, but he didn't once tell anyone to split the baby in two.
Never.
So I don't know. Yeah, that would have been a good
those
joke.
are my changes. What would you change?
I like that. I like the Wizard as Solomon. I think that's really fun. I'm on board with that.
Also, he should get a name. They just keep calling him the Wizard.
The Wizard, yeah. So I'm on board with yours. My big change is the obvious critique we both agree with, which is shorten up this final act of the movie. The movie only needs to be a tight 90 minutes. Once Lucy Liu plants the seed and the tree grows, that begins the final sequence of the movie. I think that we need to kind of ease up the gas off of Helen Mirren being a full-on villain through most of the movie. Of like, if they took their foot off the gas to be like the people who died in the museum attack was mostly Lucy Liu. Like, even if it was, because Helen Mirren does the I've turned everyone to stone, haha, that's fun at the end. If instead it was like Helen Mirren, even like when she slaps away Lucy Liu's hand, is like, no, I handle the thing. We're going to be reasonable. We're going to leave. And if then Lucy Liu did the whisper as they're leaving and everyone inside went crazy, it would be like, oh, you're the wild one. And Helen Mirren does actually just want to bring power back to her old kingdom. So I feel like if we ease the break off of that, then the final scene kind of could be this moment of like the stab could happen in the land of the gods. I'm taking the apple. I planted it in earth. I'm the wild card. Now we don't need 40 minutes of can Helen Mirren be a good guy? And we also haven't seen her do a shit ton of murders. So now we can see I made the bubble smaller. And now Shazam and Lucy Liu are fighting in the bubble. And that's it. Like, that's as soon as it's planted on earth, then that starts the final sequence. And my tweak to that final sequence, so it's a classic superhero ending. It's been done a million times. It is the thing that takes our thing can be overcharged like a battery, and we can make it's tried. It's been done before, but it's fine. It works. So he's like, the staff, if I keep charging it with lightning, will explode and be overcharged. So they're in the dome, which they've established earlier.
They're under the dome.
They're under the dome, which they've established earlier. That we can't start the under the dome thread right now.
But I can't believe we did this whole podcast with no under the dome jokes.
With no under the dome jokes, but they're under the dome, and they established earlier the lightning bounces off of the dome. Shazam is holding the staff and is bouncing lightning off the dome, and Lucy Liu's like, "The fuck are you doing?" And then he slowly collects the ones he's bounced. He could have just charged it into
straight
it.
into the staff.
So it would make way more sense for her to have the staff in that scene as he's trying to avoid her shots while charging it. And it could even be that's when he shows the wisdom, because it could be he can't hit it directly. She's too fast. She's doing too much. But he knows that he can bounce his things. So we can have the classic, I'm an overconfident villain. Haha, you missed me. Did I? Bounce, boom, explode in her hands.
I've been charging up the staff, and that's probably how I'll live maybe if we want to cut Wonder Woman. I'm very far away from the staff now.
For sure. There's no reason for him to have the staff. And then also charge it by shooting his lightning bolts away from the staff.
It doesn't make any sense.
And then try to do needless trick shots. She has the staff. He, air quote, misses her. It bounces and explodes. And that's the end of the movie.
And he's actually got some wisdom.
And then it shows that he has some wisdom. And then the movie's over in about 90 minutes.
I love it. I think it's fun. It would be an almost perfect film.
It really would.
It's so sad that the first two acts are just so good, so funny. There's stakes because Freddy gets captured and the wizard's captured. You actually care the whole time. It's great. It's not just a crazy MacGuffin that we have to protect. It's no, we're trying to protect our family, which is such better stakes in the world.
Way better. Yeah. Well, that's it for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. I had a fun time. That was fantastic. We are going to be back next week. Next week, we're talking about the first couple episodes of Gotham Knights.
Oh, boy.
The much delayed
CW television show.
We're going to see how Gotham Knights goes. We're going to give you the scoop as to our early impressions. of Gotham Knights. So we're going to
There are some spoiler-free reviews you just don't want to miss.
There we go. You don't want to miss next week. We'll be talking about Gotham Knights. In the meantime, don't forget to check out my comedy album, Murder Bird. You can search Murder Bird wherever you get your music, whatever streaming services, music purchasing apps, whatever you might use. And as well, if you find me on social media, I am on both Twitter and Instagram at Ivimey. My pinned stuff and my most recent stuff, it'll all be about the album, which will guide you to where you need to be if you want to check out the comedy album. I appreciate it, but mostly you can find me on Instagram at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Twitter at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us most places at From Superheroes, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.